Major developments tonight involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Bill and Sade accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agreed.
B, he's going to be truthful about this case because he wants to portray that to the people who have loved him his whole life. And I think he also feels an obligation to people in general. Maybe it's black people, maybe it's white people, maybe it's anybody who's ever felt aggrieved and targeted by the government. He feels an obligation to those people to say, you know what, maybe I can break the model. Maybe I can show the world that a black man can win, in federal court. And I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish.
What if the Prince of Bad Boy turned out to be its Judas? What if the son Diddy, once cradled in diamond-studded arms, is now the one testifying to burn it all down? Behind closed courtroom doors, music mogul Sean Diddy Combs isn't just fighting federal charges. He's fighting his own blood. Christian Combs, his heir apparent, is now the prosecution's most dangerous weapon. And the betrayal? It didn't happen overnight. It was calculated, sanctioned, and sealed with immunity. This isn't just a legal battle. It's a Shakespearean tragedy dripping in cash, secrecy, and silence money. From late-night raids to wire transfers and family unraveling in real time, the empire Diddy built may be collapsing from within, and the traitor sat at his dinner table. Christian Combs has turned on his father. Yes, testifying against Sean Diddy Combs in what's quickly becoming the most explosive downfall hip-hop has ever seen. Not just a legal twist. This is betrayal at the bloodline. The boy who once stood proudly beside Diddy on red carpets, celebrating legacy and lavishness, is now a key figure in the investigation, tearing it all down. This isn't just a son speaking out. It's a son sworn in, under oath. And every word he gives pulls the curtain back on a father who built an empire on power, fear, and silence. So how does a father who gave his son the world become the man that same son helps bring to justice? How did a dynasty turn into a courtroom drama where love, loyalty, and legacy are now evidence? The betrayal isn't just personal, it's generational, and it might be what finally unravels everything. What did Christian see? What did he endure? And what finally pushed him to break the unspoken rule of family silence? This is the moment where the House of Combs starts crumbling from the inside out. Before the headlines, before the wiretaps and federal raids, before the whispers of organized abuse and sex trafficking turned into search warrants and subpoenas, Christian Combs was the heir. Not just Diddy's son, but his mirror, his legacy. He was there on the private jets, front row at every runway, crowned a designer from birth. Diddy didn't just raise Christian, he groomed him for the spotlight. GQ spreads, music video cameos, high fashion collabs. Christian wasn't just learning the business. He was the brand's future. To the world, it looked like a father passing the torch to his son. But behind that smile was a system, a structure, one where loyalty meant silence. And silence was bought. We all remember the family moments posted on Instagram. Matching fits, champagne toasts, luxury vacations. But what we didn't see was what was being asked of Christian behind the scenes. Because now, according to newly leaked documents from the Southern District of New York, Christian Combs has been cooperating with federal investigators for months. Immunity deal on file. Statements recorded. Timeline corroborated with digital evidence. It wasn't just one interview. It was a series. He told them about the flights, the guests, the private events, the role he played, willingly or not, in facilitating the fantasy Diddy built around himself. He gave names, times, receipts, passwords, and perhaps most damning of all, access. According to the report, Christian helped unlock digital devices seized in the raid, devices the feds couldn't crack for weeks. It was Christian who allegedly handed over the login codes, the ones tied to burner phones, encrypted chats, and hidden folders. The kind of betrayal you don't come back from. But here's the real question. Was it really betrayal? Or was it a quiet, desperate act of survival? Because for years, Christian lived under Diddy's rule. A rule built on image, power, and control. And when that world started falling apart, when lawsuits piled up, homes got raided, and allies went silent, Christian saw what everyone else refused to admit: that the empire wasn't built to protect him. It was built to use him. Sources close to the family say Christian started pulling away months ago, skipping appearances, unfollowing industry insiders on Instagram, posting cryptic captions about truth and freedom. Some say he reached out to attorneys long before the raid. Others claim he was terrified, knowing what he knew, knowing what he'd seen, and realizing the only way out was to speak up. And when the feds came knocking, Christian didn't just give them information. He gave them a blueprint. He mapped out how Diddy's circle operated, who ran what, how hush money was moved through LLCs, which names to trace, and the emotional toll. It's written all over his silence. He hasn't released a statement. He hasn't made a move to defend his father. He hasn't even liked a post. Radio silence. But his absence is deafening. Meanwhile, insiders say Diddy feels blindsided. He allegedly thought Christian would stay loyal no matter what. That family was above all else. That money could fix anything. But when your own blood turns state's witness, there's no NDA strong enough to stop that kind of reckoning. Some believe Christian made the hardest decision of his life, choosing truth over dynasty. Others think this was cold, calculated, a way to cut ties with a sinking ship and protect himself before the storm hit. Either way, the damage is done. And the image of Diddy as a beloved father figure? Shattered. Because once the son testifies, the world stops listening to the father. It was supposed to be just another quiet day in Miami. But by nightfall, the mansion once known for its yacht parties and private performances had turned into a crime scene. On March 25, 2024, just after 11 a.m., Homeland Security, armed with federal warrants and tactical gear, descended on not one, but two properties belonging to Sean Diddy Combs. One in Los Angeles, one in Miami, coast to coast, simultaneously. This wasn't a raid, it was a siege. Black SUVs rolled up. Helicopters circled overhead. Armed agents in bulletproof vests poured through iron gates. Neighbors pulled out phones. Paparazzi swarmed. And inside, whatever piece Diddy had left shattered in seconds. According to insider leaks, agents didn't knock. They breached. They moved fast, sweeping rooms, securing guests, and heading straight for the tech. Laptops, tablets, hard drives, and phones. But they weren't just after financial records or digital breadcrumbs. They were looking for proof of intent. For conversations, plans, evidence that what was being alleged in civil lawsuits, sex trafficking, coercion, abuse, wasn't just rumor but strategy. And what they found was worse than anyone expected. Because deep in the encrypted chats and deleted cloud backups, agents uncovered a disturbing thread: private father-son messages between Diddy and Christian Combs. Conversations that now sit at the center of a federal investigation. These weren't birthday texts or music plans. These were warnings, coaching, damage control. In one flagged exchange, allegedly dated just 2 days after Cassie filed her lawsuit, Diddy is seen instructing Christian to scrub all mentions, wipe the backup, and don't say a word to anyone unless I tell you. According to agents, it reads like a man trying to cover his tracks and teaching his son how to do the same. Another conversation is darker. One investigator described it as emotional manipulation. Messages like, "Family sticks together. We protect each other even when it hurts. This is bigger than you." It paints a picture of a father using legacy as leverage, tightening the leash with every allegation, trying to maintain control even as the walls closed in. But here's what really made agents sit up. Christian responded, not with obedience, but with resistance. His tone grew colder, shorter, more distant. One reply simply read, "I can't lie for you anymore." Another, "You need help. I'm done." That moment, buried in a chat thread, was the break investigators were waiting for. The psychological turning point. The signal that the man once seen as untouchable was about to lose everything, starting with his own blood. From there, the feds started matching digital files with witness testimony. Christian's later cooperation with authorities suddenly had context and corroboration. Devices seized in a raid were key to unlocking the wider web. Burner phone logs, private security schedules, guest lists for closed-door events. Everything meticulously archived. Everything now in federal hands. This was no longer about protecting celebrities. It was about taking down an alleged operation. And make no mistake, the federal agents involved aren't treating Diddy like an eccentric music mogul. They're treating him like a criminal enterprise. A ringleader. A man who turned influence into intimidation, fame into fear. One source close to the investigation even claimed the Department of Homeland Security sees this as bigger than Epstein, a case that could unravel decades of abuse, payoffs, and silence stretching across Hollywood, fashion, and music. So when they raided those homes, they didn't just seize hard drives. They seized control of the narrative. And now, every luxury pillow, every hidden camera, every deleted message is evidence. Because behind the chandeliers and Grammy plaques was something much darker, something Diddy can't dance away from. And as the feds piece it all together, the question isn't if there will be an arrest. It's how many, and who goes down with him. At a glance, it all looked like fantasy. The music, the money, the mansion parties that felt more like royal coronations than casual get-togethers. Diddy didn't just throw events, he curated experiences. And they were legendary. Private islands, all-white themes, crystal champagne fountains, guest lists that read like Coachella collided with the Met Gala, Jay-Z, Beyoncé, Usher, Mary J. Blige, Leonardo DiCaprio, Naomi Campbell, Kim Kardashian, Drake, French Montana, politicians, executives, models, billionaires, and at the center of it all, Sean Diddy Combs, orchestrating every moment with precision. A cultural puppet master. But behind the velvet rope, behind the tailored suits and glossy red carpet photos, was something else entirely. Because those parties weren't just celebrations. According to multiple lawsuits, whistleblower testimony, and federal investigations, they were recruitment centers. And not for music. Multiple women, some named, others under Jane Doe aliases, have now claimed they were first approached at these parties. Invited under the guise of networking, or modeling opportunities. Then isolated, intoxicated, filmed, threatened. Some describe being handed NDAs before stepping into back rooms. Others claim their phones were confiscated on arrival. What happens at a Diddy party stays at a Diddy party because it had to. The guest lists were curated, but not always for fame. Insiders allege that certain rooms were off limits unless you were cleared. That private security was trained not just in protection, but in containment. Surveillance wasn't for safety, it was for leverage. One former staffer told federal agents, every party had a purpose, and it wasn't fun. Here's where it gets darker. Christian Combs, Diddy's son, wasn't just attending these parties. According to documents tied to his immunity deal, he was managing them. Sources claim Christian helped coordinate jet charters, guest arrivals, and high-level travel logistics. One leaked email shows him confirming the manifest for a weekend event in Turks and Caicos. A chartered Gulfstream jet, 11 passengers, none of them music artists. Federal agents believe these weren't harmless party trips. They were controlled environments. Isolated, international, immune to U.S. surveillance. Christian also allegedly managed wire transfers and digital payments through Shell LLCs. Payments marked as event consulting, logistics, or creative direction. But prosecutors suspect those were code. Code for silence. Code for coercion. In one flag communication, Christian is seen messaging a third-party service. Need everything off the books. Client wants full discretion. NDA required on arrival. He wasn't running a business. He was running a machine. And the guests? Many now wish they hadn't come. Several models and influencers tied to past parties have gone offline, deleted their accounts. Lawyers have confirmed at least 4 new civil claims in the works, each alleging abuse tied directly to Diddy's events. Some of these claims include references to Christian's coordination. Was he just a son caught in his father's empire? Or was he the lieutenant helping it run smoothly? That's the moral dilemma now hanging over his immunity deal. He may not have committed the worst acts, but he allegedly built the infrastructure. He ordered the jets. He arranged the drivers. He kept the system oiled while Diddy pulled the strings. Even insiders admit, Christian didn't seem malicious. But he knew. And if the allegations are true, he helped create an environment where young women were flown in, locked down, and silenced, all under the illusion of stardom. One witness said it best. It wasn't a party. It was a pipeline. And once you were in, there was no polite way out. Now, with investigators tracing financial records, subpoenaing event staff, and combing through archived guest lists, the glitz is gone. What's left is a paper trail, one that leads straight through Christian Combs and deep into a secret empire built on power, paranoia, and the perfect cover. Because when the lights came on and the guests went home, the cameras kept rolling. Forget the whispers. Forget the NDAs. Forget the Instagram glitz. When it comes to Sean Diddy Combs and the sprawling investigation threatening to dismantle his empire, nothing hits harder than the paper trail. And this one isn't just a few messy receipts. It's a $74 million forensic spiderweb, a labyrinth of shell corporations, shadow accounts, and consulting fees that investigators say were used to bankroll more than just luxury. According to leaked documents reviewed by multiple federal agencies, over $74 million was funneled through at least 6 shell companies connected to Diddy's inner circle over the past decade. The names are innocuous: Blue Harbor Holdings, Luxwave Entertainment, Monarch Mobility. Paper thin, no websites, no employees, no clients, just registered mailboxes in Delaware and Wyoming. But behind the corporate camouflage, lavish party rentals, international travel, exotic car leases, and unsettlingly, modeling agency retainers with no portfolios or photo credits to match. The smoking gun? Christian Combs' name, plastered across dozens of invoices. Not as a guest, not as an assistant, but as the authorized signer. In one document, Christian greenlights a $28,000 payment to a creative consultant based in Paris. The justification? Atmosphere services for a party in Mykonos. Another payment, $112,500, wired to a travel firm in Dubai, labeled as executive security coordination. Except, no security firm ever received it. The funds were rerouted within 48 hours to a private account in the British Virgin Islands. Federal investigators believe this wasn't sloppy accounting. This was intentional obfuscation. One financial crimes expert working alongside DHS called it a deliberate laundering pattern, not just to hide where the money was going, but to hide what the money was for. But it gets worse. Luxury car leases, over a dozen, valued in the millions. Lamborghinis, Maybachs, G-Wagons. Titles registered under shell companies, but monthly payments authorized by Christian Combs. Then there are the properties. A Miami penthouse rented under a company called Jet Halo Capital, used only twice, both weekends tied to now infamous private events. A Hamptons retreat booked for $140,000 under a defunct LLC. Christian was listed as the booking contact for both. And the most unsettling entries? Those labeled talent expenses. One flagged invoice from 2022, $18,000 for personal grooming, wardrobe prep, $26,750 for transport and discretion bonus. Signed off by Christian. Paid via a shell company with no tax filings. Now here's where the defense makes its play. Diddy's legal team claims this is just business. That Christian Combs, like any rising executive, was managing budgets, handling logistics, and learning the ropes of a massive entertainment brand. Their argument: this is what moguls do. Use holding companies. Streamline tax exposure. Maintain privacy. Christian was just following protocol. But federal prosecutors aren't buying it. Because when business expenses include anonymous payments to modeling recruiters with no websites, $14,000 tips to hospitality liaisons, and mysteriously disappearing cash wires to Eastern Europe, that's not business. That's a system. And Christian wasn't just watching. He was signing, booking, and wiring it into motion. One agent close to the case described it as a digital confession in slow motion. Every click, every transfer, every invoice, it all stacks. And now the feds are stacking back. Sources say Christian Combs' immunity deal only protects him from direct criminal prosecution, not from financial clawbacks, not from civil liability, and not from the tidal wave of lawsuits circling the entire Combs estate. Already, 3 new civil cases have cited Christian by name as a financial facilitator, and one plaintiff's attorney made it crystal clear. If Diddy built the house, Christian held the keys. The question now, was Christian Combs the naive son trying to prove himself in his father's empire, or the executive apprentice learning how to cover tracks before the heat got too close? Because in the world of federal indictments, it's not always about who committed the crime. It's about who moved the money. And in this case, the receipts don't lie. Blood may be thicker than water, but not when the feds come knocking. Because now, it's not just Christian Combs caught in the crosshairs of his father's unraveling empire. Justin Combs, Quincy Brown, 2 more names, 2 more sons. And according to insiders close to the investigation, both have already been approached by federal prosecutors. Not as suspects yet, but as potential cooperators. And that changes everything. Behind closed doors, the once bulletproof Combs dynasty is splintering. What was once marketed as the ultimate black Hollywood family, the music mogul, the stylish sons, the fashion campaigns, the red carpet appearances, has quietly become a chessboard. And the feds? They're flipping the board one piece at a time. Justin Combs, Diddy's eldest biological son, known for his flashy lifestyle and high-profile dating history, isn't just a party boy. Behind the scenes, he's allegedly been tied to event promotion, travel logistics, and security coordination for various Combs-affiliated brands. But now, prosecutors are questioning whether those security teams were really just muscle or something more sinister. One former employee from Combs Enterprises described Justin as a fixer with a smile. Friendly, low-key, but always in the room when the uncomfortable things went down. And Quincy Brown, Diddy's adopted son, through his relationship with Kim Porter, presents a softer target. A rising actor, fashion darling, and often considered the clean face of the family. But Quincy was there too, hosting events, promoting Croc, posing for those same party night photos. One source from the federal task force put it bluntly. They're not charging them yet, but they're circling. Pressure makes people talk. And that pressure? It's mounting fast. Because here's the strategy. Isolate the sons. Offer immunity deals one by one. Dangle the threat of charges, conspiracy, obstruction, money laundering. Then sweeten the escape route with reduced penalties and closed-door testimonies. Christian already took the deal. And that betrayal? It's causing shockwaves inside the family. Multiple insiders say Justin was blindsided. He didn't know Christian had flipped until the story broke in the press. And Quincy? He's allegedly been laying low, skipping media appearances, and ignoring calls from longtime friends. Behind the scenes, there's panic. Not just over what the feds know, but over who's next to talk. Because betrayal spreads like a virus when the stakes are prison. Loyalty starts to crack when prosecutors start quoting minimum sentences. And make no mistake, these aren't rumors. 2 separate legal teams have now confirmed their clients, not naming names, but heavily implied to be Diddy's sons, were approached for proffer sessions, a legal term meaning, come tell us what you know, and we'll decide how to use it. And industry insiders are whispering even louder. You didn't hear this from me. Off the record. But the pattern is clear. The Combs family brand is imploding from the inside. Music execs are distancing themselves. PR firms are renegotiating retainers. Former assistants are lawyered up. And now the biggest question in Hollywood isn't if someone else is flipping. It's who's next. Because when the empire starts to fall, loyalty turns liquid. Brother turns on brother. Allies disappear. And in the race to save yourself, the family crest means nothing if it's painted in blood. Once his name opened doors. Now it shuts them. Sean Diddy Combs was more than a mogul. He was a movement. A tastemaker. A kingmaker. The man who could turn Croc into a billion-dollar liquor brand with a wink and a toast. But now, the very industry he helped build is burying him alive. Because in Hollywood and corporate boardrooms, silence isn't loyalty. It's strategy. And as federal investigations tighten, lawsuits pile up, and headlines spiral from salacious to criminal, the backlash has become total. The brand were the first to run. Ciroc, quietly shifting their marketing away from Diddy's face. Social media posts deleted. Archive links broken. New campaigns launching with younger, safer influencers. A liquor rep leaked that Diddy's name is now banned in internal conversations. De Leon Tequila paused. Sean John Revival scrapped behind the scenes. The fashion houses followed. Dolce & Gabbana, Balenciaga, Amiri, brands once eager to dress Diddy and his sons are suddenly untagged, unbothered, and unavailable. Invitations dry up. No more front row seating. And certainly no more custom tuxedos. Then came the campaign cancellations. One luxury hotel chain quietly shelved a $3 million ad deal set to feature Christian Combs as the next icon. Sources say the mood went from excitement to don't touch it in 48 hours after Christian's alleged involvement in shell corporations became public. A high-end grooming brand canceled an entire product launch collab just weeks from going live. And don't expect a comeback album rollout anytime soon, because even the streaming platforms are treading lightly. Spotify and Apple Music haven't removed Diddy's music, but they've definitely stopped promoting it. No banners. No featured playlists. No, this is Diddy Spotlights. Quietly, strategically, he's being ghosted. Yet, ironically, streams are spiking. Not from fans, from voyeurs. Because the public isn't revisiting his catalog out of nostalgia. They're digging through lyrics like evidence. Searching for clues. Picking apart every verse for double meanings, every skit for implication. TikTok? Awash with was he telling on himself? Videos. Reddit threads titled, "Listen to this again" after the lawsuit. Twitter dissecting Diddy's old interviews like crime scene footage. The numbers don't lie. A 42% spike in streams across major platforms and a 77% increase in YouTube searches for Diddy documentary. Support? No. Curiosity. Speculation. Schadenfreude. Even his fellow celebrities, those who once partied at his mansions, toasted to his legacy, and posed beside him on the Met Gala steps, have gone radio silent. Not a tweet. Not a repost. Not a single word of defense. Rappers, actors, models, execs, they know the playbook. Because in an industry built on brand equity, aligning with a man under federal investigation is career suicide. So they vanish, unfollow, disassociate, rebrand. Some are even scrubbing old photos, preemptively, before they're asked to explain them. Behind the scenes, publicists are issuing blanket NDAs to clients. No comment on the Combs situation. Crisis teams are preparing statements just in case old affiliations get dragged back into the spotlight. Because everyone knows this isn't just a scandal. It's a collapse. The kind you can't PR spin. The kind that swallows legacies. And the fall of Diddy isn't just the downfall of a man. It's the rupture of an ecosystem built on image, opulence, and silence. Now that silence is everywhere. And it's deafening. In the middle of an empire collapsing under federal heat, there's one man who isn't running. He's laughing, mocking, posting memes like missiles. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, the mogul, the troll, the wild card, and now, the unexpected protagonist in the slow-motion implosion of Sean Diddy Combs. Because while brands are scrubbing Diddy from their pages, while collaborators vanish into silence and lawyers battle behind closed doors, 50 Cent is fanning the flames like it's personal. And maybe it is. Within hours of Diddy's homes being raided by Homeland Security, 50 was already online, posting photos of the bus with the caption, "Told y'all, playtime over." Not a rumor. Not vague shade. Direct. Cutting. Intentional. And it didn't stop there. He teased he's working on a TV series. Not just inspired by the Combs investigation, but allegedly based on real evidence his team has acquired. "This gonna make surviving our Kelly look like Sesame Street," he wrote. The internet exploded. Thousands of shares. Bloggers scrambling. Fans asking, how does 50 know this much? Insiders whispering. Is he bluffing? Or does he really have receipts? And here's where it gets dangerous. 50 Cent has nothing to lose and everything to gain. He's already rich, already proven. His series Power and BMF are cultural juggernauts. He's not chasing clout, he is clout. So when he starts teasing court documents, surveillance footage, NDAs, and people ready to talk, people listen. And make no mistake, he's not afraid of Diddy. He's never been. Their feud goes back over a decade. Shady business deals, industry sabotage, alleged threats. But 50 never let it go. He once said, "I know what you did, you just haven't been caught yet." Well now, the catching has begun. And while everyone else is keeping quiet, 50 is weaponizing the moment. Strategically, surgically. He knows how to produce spectacle. He knows how to control a narrative. He's not just exposing Diddy. He's monetizing the downfall. Allegedly, he's shopping interviews with former Bad Boy insiders, securing option rights on lawsuits, hiring ex-police and ex-FBI consultants for creative accuracy. This isn't trolling. It's a strategic takedown, broadcast live in meme form, while the real work happens in writers' rooms and legal back channels. And the timing? Ruthless. While Diddy scrambles to protect his sons, his businesses, and his reputation, 50 is already packaging his fall into entertainment. The irony? Diddy once said, "The world is mine." 50's about to say, "Then I'll license it for streaming." Because in the final chapter of this industry bloodbath, Curtis Jackson might not be a side character. He might be the one who calls cut. And when 50 Cent is holding the script, there's no happy ending for his enemies. It was the trial the world said would never happen. Now it's here, outside the courthouse. It looked like a movie premiere. Media vans lined the street. Protesters, supporters, and paparazzi swarmed the steps. Helicopters buzzed overhead like vultures circling a fresh kill. Inside, silence. Tense. Cold. Surgical. The courtroom was standing room only. Rows of observers, from journalists to former collaborators, watched from the gallery with wide eyes and tighter mouths. No one spoke above a whisper. No one dared blink when Sean Diddy Combs entered. No music, no swagger, no entourage, just a gray suit, clenched jaw, and the weight of 3 decades of secrets behind him. For a man who built his legacy on being seen, Diddy now looked like he wanted to vanish. The prosecution came armed with receipts, victims, witnesses, and wire transfers. Allegations of racketeering. Shell companies tied to blackmail. NDAs used as weapons. Drug-fueled parties where the lines between consent and control blurred into darkness. And then came the bombshell. Christian Combs, his own son, might be called to testify. Gasps in the gallery. Whispers among the press. Even Diddy's attorneys stiffened. Because this wasn't just business. This was blood. Christian had always been the golden child. The heir. The mirror image of his father's early days. Groomed for fame. Protected by legacy. But now, subpoenaed by the federal government, tied by documents to offshore accounts and marketing companies allegedly used to launder influence and hide darker dealings. Christian was more than a son. He was a possible key witness. The question everyone asked, would he take the stand? Would he look his father in the eye, under oath, and speak the truth? And if he did, what would break first? The case? The family? Or the empire itself? The trial moved fast. Footage was presented. Photos were authenticated. A parade of ex-bodyguards, former assistants, and discarded collaborators took the stand. Each one with a story that cracked the image Diddy had so carefully sculpted. And when the defense tried to push back, they hit a wall of paper trails, conflicting timelines, and sealed settlements suddenly unsealed. In the courtroom, legacy is just another word for evidence. And the future of Bad Boy? Hanging by a thread. Labels don't want the smoke. Artists are fleeing contracts. And distributors are watching the case like Wall Street watches the Fed. Because if Diddy falls, he won't fall alone. He knows where bodies are buried. He knows who helped him dig. And every day in court is a new opportunity for those names to come up, on record, under oath, in front of the world. The silence from Diddy is strategic. He hasn't spoken publicly. No interviews. No statements. No press runs. But silence in court? That's a gamble. And when your freedom's on the line, the jury doesn't care about your billboard hits. They want facts. They want truth. They want accountability. And for the first time in decades, Diddy isn't the one writing the narrative. He's not the executive producer anymore. He's the defendant, the accused, and maybe the condemned. The moment of truth is here. And the verdict won't just determine Diddy's fate. It will decide the future of an industry that let him rule for too long. Unchecked, unchallenged, and now undone. It didn't start with the money, or the music, or the parties in the sky. It started with a vision. Sean Diddy Combs was supposed to be the blueprint. The Harlem hustler turned global brand. The man who went from intern at Uptown Records to building Bad Boy into a cultural monolith. From sampling Biggie tracks to dancing in champagne-soaked suits beside presidents and billionaires. He didn't just chase the American dream. He marketed it, bottled it, sold it back to us in fragrance ads and liquor deals and lifestyle slogans like, "Can't stop, won't stop." But now, it all stopped. Abruptly, violently, publicly. Because what lies beneath the glitter is blood, silence, and sealed court documents. And the empire Diddy built was never built to survive the truth. Let's talk about legacy. That elusive, manufactured thing celebrities chase, so they never really die. Diddy wanted to be more than an artist. He wanted to be eternal. He bought back his masters, launched schools, preached black excellence. He called himself Brother Love. He wanted statues built while he was still alive. But legacy is fragile. And now, every accolade is tainted. Every plaque on the wall becomes a silent accusation. Every Grammy a grim artifact from time we didn't know or chose not to know what was happening behind those locked penthouse doors. And what of the dynasty? Bad Boy is a brand in name only. The artists, most are gone, bankrupt, bitter, or buried. The family, fractured under subpoenas and suspicion. Christian Combs, once poised to carry the torch, is now walking a legal tightrope where loyalty could cost him his freedom. Quincy Brown has distanced himself completely. And insiders whisper that even Diddy's daughters, shielded from it all for so long, are asking questions the mogul can't answer without a lawyer present. So we ask the question, can any part of Diddy's empire survive this? Maybe the name, maybe the logo, but the myth? The idea that Diddy was a genius, a father figure, a mogul who lifted up a generation? That's gone, rewritten, replaced by court transcripts, TikTok breakdowns, and a generation that no longer sees him as aspirational, but as a warning. Because in the end, the legacy wasn't in the music. It was in the silence. The lives he allegedly broke to keep his own story clean. And now, the silence is shattered. The story is out. And what's left of Sean Combs is just another empire turned to ash under the weight of unchecked power. He sold us a dream, but it cost too many people their reality.